Oh, so let's just start what we were doing. We were done with the goals, right? We have to start with major policy initiative in agriculture sector. Okay, is it fine? Yes,
Yes,
no,
ma'am.
maybe.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, great. So basically, see, agriculture sector, we have different sector in an economy, right? Okay. So we have different sectors contributing like agriculture, industrial and all that, right? So first we will do major policy initiative in agriculture sector. Like, of course, the agriculture sector, you all already know that production level was very low, the condition was very poor. So of course, if you want to improve the status, you need to initiate. Initiate means to start. Okay. You know the initial deposit when we did the money and banking chapter, initial, that was start, the first, right? So similarly, initiative means you are going to start something. So what were the major policy that Indian government started in agriculture sector? So first was land reform. Okay, so first was land reform. So why there was a need of land reform in India, like in agriculture sector? So at the time of independence, the land tenure system was characterized by intermediates, you know, when there was a land reform was there also during British colonial period, like the zamindari system, jagidar system, and all that, right? So basically, they were the intermediaries, okay, who merely collected rent from the actual tillers, means the farmers of the soil, without contributing toward improvement on the farm. So what those zamindars and all they were doing, they were collecting tax from the people who were working in the field, and whatever tax they were collecting, they were not using that tax for the development of their agriculture sector or something like that, or their farm. They were using it for their own purpose. Because of that, the low productivity of agriculture sector forced equity in agriculture sector called for low reform. Sorry, the low productivity of agriculture sector forced India to import food from United States of America, which is USA. So basically, see, if you are working over some, for example, you are living here. This is your room. Okay, so whatever money you are getting, if you are not working to improve your room, okay, 1 year you will be doing well, second year doing well, third year maybe the ceiling will be there, fan will stop working, maybe your tube light will stop working, so all these things, so you need to improve your, or you need to upgrade your room structure as well. So that was the system with agriculture as well. The people who were working over there, whatever money they were earning, whatever tax zamindars were collecting, right, they were not using that money for the development of agriculture or just to improve the status of farm. Because if you are producing on the same land again and again, the fertility, the agriculture equipment, everything is going to be destroyed, right? So you need to put that things, you need to upgrade things. But the zamindars and all, they were not doing, they were doing nothing to improve the status, and because of that there was low productivity. Okay, so for example, if I have 10 people in my country and I'm producing only 5 kg, 1 kg per person will be there, 5 kg people will be, like 5 people will be hungry, they will be starving. So that's why I need to import food, means I need to take food from like some other country, or maybe from foreign country, right? So this was the condition, like I need to take food from some other country as well. So that is why there was a need of land reform, because the Britishers who characterized the intermediates like zamindar and all that, they collected the tax, but they didn't focus on the improvement of farm. Plus, in India, there was low productivity. Because of that, India was importing food material from other countries, right? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So land reform refers to change in ownership of land holding. So land reform means somebody is going to change the ownership of land holding. That is to abolish intermediates and to make the tillers of the tiller the owner of the land. Okay. For example, I am working over here, but the full control was with the intermediates like the zamindar, jagidan, and all that, right? So when Indian government bought land reform, the first main motive was to abolish intermediaries, right? Do whatever the zamindar and all that, just to abolish them. And second, to make tillers. Tillers means the basically the farmers or the peasants. Okay, to make them the owner of the land. Okay, and fixing the maximum size of land which could be owned by an individual. That is land ceiling. So in land reform, what happened? Basically, the main motive was first to abolish the intermediate. Second, to make tillers, or you can write farmers and peasant, to peasant the owner of the land. And third, to maximize size. See, ceiling land, ceiling, what is ceiling? Roof ceiling. In your homes, you have ceiling, the upper roof. You know,
Yes, ma'am.
ceiling?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So ceiling is basically that this is the maximum limit. Apart from that, you cannot go beyond. Right? This is the maximum limit that you are going to stay in this room and this is your ceiling. You are not going to enter over here in the second room or in the upper flat. Okay. So to maximize the maximum, so there was a ceiling. Land ceiling means that okay, maximum 4 land you can acquire, or you can have maximum 4 land, 10 land, 2 land, 3 land, 5 land, or the area. So maximum you can have. So basically these 3 things were done when land reform was introduced in India. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So basically types of land reform implemented in the agriculture. So first, this is what we are going to do in this detail. Okay. So first you will write major policy initiative in agriculture sector, the heading. And after that you will write first land reform. Okay. Okay. And after that you will write hashtag why there was a need for land reform in agriculture sector. Okay. So why? At the time of independence, the land tenure system was characterized by intermediaries, right? In bracket, you'll write zamindar, jagirdar, and all that. Okay. Who merely collected rent? You can use your own words. Who collected rent from the actual, like from the peasants or from farmers without knowing the economic condition, right? Uh, and plus without contributing toward improvement on the farm. Okay. And second point, you'll write the low productivity of agriculture sector forced India to import food from US. Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
So write it down. Heba, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So Heba, basically we started with this. Next topic is major policy initiative in agriculture sector. So you are going to write it down. First, you will give the heading, and after that, you will write what was the major initiative. Initiative is basically the starting thing which I started. Agriculture sector was in poor condition. So in order to improve the status, Indian government started many policies. So what were the policies in the agriculture sector? First policy was land reform. So ma'am, why land reform is important? So why there was a need of land reform in agriculture sector? So basically, at the time of independence, the land tenure system was characterized by intermediates, like the people like zamindar, jagirdar, they were controlling it, right? Who merely collected. Merely means they, in large amount they collected rent. Who collected? If you don't want to write merely, you can skip it. Who collected rent from actual tillers? Tillers are basically the farmers and the peasants. So you can write tiller, and in bracket you can write peasants and farmers. Okay, of the soil. Of the soil means of the land. Okay, without contributing, they were collecting tax from them, but they were not doing, and they were doing nothing to improve their status, right? And this was the first reason, because they were not doing anything. That's why we need to introduce land reform. Second, the low productivity of agriculture was there. Because of that, India used to import food from agriculture from USA. Okay. And third, equity in agriculture sector called for the land reform. Equity means equal distribution in the sector of agriculture, called for the land reform. Okay. Just don't write like this, equity in the agriculture sector, like right, to bring equity in the agriculture sector. Third point, to bring equity in the agriculture sector. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
This is for everyone.
Done, ma'am.
Done.
Everyone is done?
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now we are going to do types of land reform. Types of land reform implemented in the agriculture. Okay, so of course there are different types of land reforms, right? So first was abolition of intermediaries. Like the abolition of intermediaries means that some 200 lakh tenants came into direct contact with the government. They were thus freed. They were thus freed from being exploited by the zamindar. So basically, what happened first? What the Indian government did? Abolished all the titles, intermediaries, and all that. So now there will be no zamindar, no zagirdar, nothing. Okay. So what happened when India abolished this? So what happened? 200 lakh tenants. Tenants is basically the peasants and the farmers, right? So tenant came into direct contact with government. Earlier, what was happening? Basically, exploitation was there. You know, they were working hard, but whatever money was getting, zamindars or the jagirdars, they were using it, right? So basically, we freed. Thus, freed from. Now they were free from the jagirdars and zamindars, free from being exploited by the zamindars. Okay, so first was abolition of intermediate, and because of this, when this intermediate things like we demolished it, Indian government demolished it. What happened? 200 lakh tenants or the peasants or the farmers came direct in contact with the government, and they were free from the exploitation which zamindars were doing with them. Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, the ownership of landholding. The policy of land to the tiller is based on the idea that the cultivator will take more interest. They will have more incentive in increasing output if they are the owner of the land. This is because ownership of land enables the tillers. Tillers are basically peasants and farmer to make profit from increased output. Tillers do not have to do not have the incentive to make improvement on the land, since it is the landowner who would benefit more from the higher output. So what happened? Ma'am, what is this? Basically, for example, this is my land. Okay. And this is me. And sorry, somebody else is working over here. So whatever benefit will be there, I will be getting that benefit, right? The person who is working in my field, he won't be getting it. So therefore, the ownership of land holding got changed. It was mentioned that the person who will be working on the field, right? That person, the land will be belonging to that person. Whatever benefit will be getting, that person will be getting it. Okay. Why? For example, this is your land. You are working over here. So you'll be working in a good way that, okay, this is my land. I will be getting more initiative if my production will be more. But if you are working on somebody else, you'll be like, okay, you will be just doing the formality, right? So the ownership of landlord, the policy of land to the tillers, the policy of land to the tillers means the person who is working on the land, the property will be his or her. Okay, is based on the idea that the cultivator will take more interest. They will have more incentive in increasing output if they are the owner of the land. Okay, clear?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And because of this policy, ownership, because of this, right, what happened? The tillers are going to make more profit, and because of that, production level will be increased. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So this is because ownership of land enable means force tillers to make profit from the increased output. Okay. So what happened? They increase the output because now the land they are working on, it's there, right? And because of that, the profit increased, and that automatically helped the agriculture sector, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're going to write it. No, just don't write it. I'll just tell you. Third point after that. Last was land ceiling. Okay. So land ceiling was another policy to promote equity in the agriculture sector. Okay. So land ceiling. Why land ceiling? Because, for example, these are the people. 1, 2, 3. This person has 5 land. This 4, 10. You can see somebody is having 10, and these are the people. 2 land, 0, or maybe 1. So you can see someone is having 10 lands and someone is having 0 or even 1. So you can see there is no equity, there is no equitable distribution, right? So land ceiling was another policy to promote equity in the agriculture sector. Land ceiling, now what is land ceiling? Land ceiling means fixing the maximum size of land which could be owned by the individual. Size means, for example, there is a measurable thing that okay, this bhk or this bhk, so maybe I fix that every person will be having 10 bhk of land. Okay, so something like that. So it is going to be a maximum size of land which could be owned by an individual. The purpose of land ceiling was to reduce the concentration of land ownership in few hands. So what was happening? First, what was the purpose of land ceiling? First, to promote equity, right? That everybody should get equal. That if I say that everybody will be having maximum 3 land, so everyone will be having 3 3 3 3 like this. And next one, earlier what was happening? For example, I'm a rich person. I'm going to own hundreds of land, right? So that was very wrong. So in order to in order to stop, in order to reduce the concentration means control of land ownership in few hands. You can see these 3 people are having all the land, 10 4 5, but these people are having very less land. So in order to stop people from concentrating or from taking over the land in only rich people or in hand of rich people or few section of society, land ceiling was introduced. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so basically you are going to you are going to write types of land reform implemented in the agriculture sector. So these were the things. Either you will be getting what were the types of land reform, or you will be getting what do you understand by land ceiling, why it was introduced. So you should be ready with your answer. Question can be of any type. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Okay, write it.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Okay, I'll just wait for one more minute, then I'll just. I hope everyone is done. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, basically, we are going to do the drawbacks of land reform. Okay. So, ma'am, what are the drawbacks of land reform? The goal of equity. See, what was the goal? What was the goal to bring the equity, right? So, what happened? The goal of equity was not fully served by abolition of intermediates and the policy of land to the tiller. Basically, we adopted two policies, right? First, we abolished the zamindar and all that, and second, we bought that policy of land to the tillers. That means policy of land to the peasants or the farmers. Okay. So what happened? In some areas, the farmer zamindar continued to own large areas of land by making use of some loopholes in the legislation. So what happened? Basically, we abolished zamindars and everything, right? And also the land to the tillers means the person who are working like in the land, they are going to have the authority of that land, right? But somewhere in some area, the farmer zamindar means the previous zamindars, right? Which were there continue to own large areas. So what they were doing that, for example, someone is working under me on that name that yes, in the documents it is written that the property belongs to that person. But in real, who is owning that? I am owning that. So basically, they were creating loopholes in the legislation, and somewhere there was a corruption, and they were owning large, you can say, owning large areas. Okay. Second, there were cases where tenants were evicted and the landowners claimed to be self-cultivators claiming ownership of the land. Now, as I told you, that people need to have the person who is going to work in your fields, he or she is going to have the authority. So what people were doing, people were saying that we are the only one who are working. Side by side, they were keeping the secret tenants or the farmers who were working. But in documents or in public, what they were showing that we are the one who are working, and because of this, that this property belongs to us. Okay. Next, even when the tillers got ownership of land, the poorest of agricultural labor, such as the sharecroppers and landless, did not benefit from the land reform. See, though I got the ownership of the land, but still the poor section, because somewhere there is a corruption. So poor people, they always have to listen to the rich people or the higher society, right? So even when the tillers got the ownership of the land, the poorest of the agricultural labor, such as sharecroppers or the landless, did not benefit from the land reform. So the person who are working over, there are different types of labor. One who will cultivate the crops, one who will do irrigation. So there are different crops. So in agriculture sector also, in farmer category also, there are different farmers, like the, you can say, the sharecroppers or the landless labor. They didn't benefit from the land reform. Okay, so this was basically the drawback. Okay. Now, ma'am, how you're going to get the question? Either you will be getting the question that what are the drawbacks of land reform, then you're going to write first drawback that goal of equity did not fully serve the abolition of intermediate in this because of this reason. 1 to 3. Okay. Or you will be getting the question like why you can like what was the Why the goal of equity was not fully served by the abolition of this and that. Then in that case also you're going to write. So you have to prepare your notes in such a way. I know you have to write a long paragraph and all that, and it is very tiring, but still we should have the content so that we can answer anything. You are going to appear for boards. So I'm not going to give you 10 questions and just saying that, okay, learn them. No, I'm going to give you the content and the material so that you can answer any question. Okay. So yeah, it is difficult to make notes, but don't worry, it will be worth it. Right? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Only MOS is okay. Others are like, no, ma'am, we don't want to write.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Second is the land ceiling legislation also faced hurdles. See, land ceiling was that, okay, maximum you can have this much of land. Okay. So the big landlords challenged the legislation in the courts, delaying the implications. They used this delay to register their lands in the name of close relatives, thereby escaping from the legislation. Now, this is very, very important. Why? See, there was an order that you can have maximum, for example, 4 plans. Okay. So what people did, the big landlords, they challenged it. The rule came, they challenged it. That, no, how can you say that this is the hard work of ours? We paid for it. We bought our land. Who are you to say that we can only have 4 lanes or 5 lanes? Okay. So they challenged it. Now, for example, a rule came. Okay. And now people started challenging it. So that will go to the court. So until and unless court didn't give the final decision whether that this policy is going to be adopted or not, that policy won't be implemented, right? So what happened? So they challenged it and challenged this policy, and this went to the court and their high hearings and all that. So the process, it took, I guess, 6 to 7 months for the final decision. So in 6 to 7 months, what they did, for example, I have lots of relatives. What I did, for example, I have 10 lands. Okay. And the rule is I can have only 4 lands. So what I did, rest of the 6 land, I just you can say transferred it on the name, or I can just registered it on the name of my close relatives. Maybe my maternal uncle, maybe my paternal uncle, maybe my mother's in-laws, maybe my father's in-laws. I just shifted it somewhere because they are my relatives. In upcoming days, if I'll need them, surely they'll give it to me, right? So this was the strategy of that they'll challenge it, and because if they didn't challenge, from next day only this rule will be implemented. And for example, the rule is you can have 10 lands, then rest of my 6 land will be under government control. Okay. So they challenged it, and because of that there was a delay in the imposition of this rule. And meanwhile, what they did, they shifted the name of, or they transferred the property to their relatives or the close relative. So this was a strategy. Getting the strategy?
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Now, the
Yes, ma'am.
legislation also had a lot of loopholes which have exploited the big land, which were exploited by the big landholders to retain their land. So basically, loopholes means the people who are being corrupt. For example, I have 10 land. The person I know somewhere in the legislature is like, I have 10 land, but in my documents I'm just showing 4 land. Just please pass my whatever it is. Right. So there were loopholes, and because of this, and the loopholes and big land laws and all that, they exploited it. They took benefit of that. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Third is land reform were successful in Kerala and West Bengal. Okay. So, ma'am, how they were successful? So, because of these state government were committed to the policy of land to the tillers, unfortunately, other states did not have the same level of commitment, and vast inequality in the landholding continued till today. This is a drawback. India has lots of states. It's not about Kerala and West Bengal. India has many states. So it was basically only like you can say successful in 2 states out of so many states. Only it was successful. So it was somewhere a drawback, right? Not even 50% of states it were like were able to operate it and make it successful. It was only 2 states out of so many states that this policy was successful. How this was policy? Because state government took action and they committed to the policy of land to the tiller. That they committed means they promised it to the tillers, the farmers, that okay, for you these are the policy, and we will make sure that each of the policy is implemented without any corruption. Unfortunately, in other state government did not took any commitment, and because of this there was a vast, you can say, wide inequality in land holding, and it is continuing till today also. You can see some people have, you can say, huge property, bungalows and all that, but there are people who don't have even a single room to live. right? So because of this, this problem came. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
write hashtag drawbacks of land reform, first drawback, second drawback, third drawback. But this you are going to write in circles, because in case you get particular question for 3 marks, so you're going to write this. Okay, because you don't know what examiner is going to ask. Okay, you can write it down. Hashtag drawbacks of land reform, first to 3, and of course the points why the first goal or the second thing or the third.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, others?
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Great. So those who are done, you can leave the meeting and we'll just continue with the other like next part in the next class. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, then bye bye. Take care.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Okay, Mariam, you can leave. Bye bye. Take care.
Ma'am, I also finished.
Okay, okay, you can leave. Bye bye.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Adab, you are done. Good evening, Madhi. How are you?